The first time my brother mocked my uniform, I let it go. That was what I had been trained to do long before the army ever got hold of me. Stay calm, keep your voice level. Do not give people the reaction they are begging for. So when Cody leaned into the microphone at our family's 30th anniversary party and said, "Careful, everybody, my sister's here in uniform. Guess she came to inspect us." I only looked down at the paper cup in my hand. A few people laughed, not loudly, not cruelly, just the uncomfortable kind of laugh people give when they know a joke has gone too far. I was standing near back wall of Whitaker Hardware, the store my grandfather had opened, the store my father had spent his life bragging about, the store my brother now claimed he had saved. A banner stretched above the front counter. 30 years of Whitaker Hardware built by family. Built by family. I stared at those words because by then I knew exactly how much that family had cost me. Cody stood at the front. My father stood beside him, proud as ever, smiling as if the town had come to witness the legacy of the Whitaker men. My mother stood near the cake table, twisting a napkin between her fingers. And I stood in my service uniform because she had asked me to wear it. Earlier that afternoon, the town hall had held a small recognition event for local veterans. My mother said my father might not say it, but he would be proud. I wanted to believe her. That was always my first mistake. Cody smiled at neighbors, old customers, and vendors who had known our family for years. When things got hard, he said, I stayed, I fought for this place, I kept payroll moving, I kept vendors believing in us. That's what family does. People clapped. My father clapped the hardest. I felt something tighten under my ribs. I had heard pieces of that speech before, only back then they were in emails I had written at 2 in the morning while I was stationed 3 states away. Keep payroll steady. Talk to the landlord before the renewal window closes. Prioritize the main vendor account. Those were my words, coming out of Cody's mouth, receiving his applause. Then he looked at me again. I mean, some of us stayed with the business, he said. Some of us just learned how to give orders. The room shifted. I waited for my father. One sentence would have been enough. Nora helped too. That was all. Instead, my father gave a short laugh and placed his hand on Cody's shoulder. Well, he said, looking straight at me, your brother did stay, Nora, you left. The store went quiet in the way a room goes quiet when everyone knows they have just witnessed something private become public. I looked at my father and waited for him to soften it. He didn't. You left, he repeated, and your brother kept this place alive. For a moment, I could smell fresh-cut lumber, old coffee, floor cleaner, cardboard, and the keys hanging behind the counter. I had grown up inside that smell. I had swept those floors after school, counted screws, stacked paint cans, entered inventory numbers, and watched my father tell every customer that one day Cody would take over. Cody was the future. I was useful. There is a difference. When I joined the army at 20, my father called it running away. He never asked why I needed to go, or what it felt like to be raised inside a family business while knowing there would never be a real place for me in it. But even after I left, I kept showing up. When the store almost lost its lease, I signed the guarantee. When payroll came up short, I funded the reserve. When Cody damaged the vendor credit line, I put my own name behind the account until they agreed to ship again. When the roof leaked, when the register system crashed, when the insurance premium jumped, when my father was too proud to admit the numbers did not work, I paid, signed, emailed, negotiated, and kept quiet. I did not do it because I wanted to own the store. I did it because I thought love meant protecting people before they had to ask. And on that Saturday night, those same people stood under a banner that said "Built by Family" and told everyone I had abandoned them. I looked at my mother. She knew enough. Not everything, maybe, but enough. Her eyes filled with guilt, but her mouth stayed closed. That silence hurt more than Cody's joke. I set my cup down. My hand was steady. I thought a moment like that would feel hot, angry, dramatic. It didn't. It felt cold, clear, final. Cody smirked. You're not going to inspect the books, are you? He said. Because we've got it handled. I looked at him, then at my father, then at the banner above the counter. Built by Family. Good, I said softly. Then you won't need me anymore. Nobody understood what I meant, not then. My father frowned. Don't start, Nora. I did not argue. I did not cry. I did not make a speech. Near the back door, one of the younger employees, Jamie, stepped aside for me. "For what it's worth, Mom," he said quietly. "The store always runs smoother when you're on the email chains." That was the first honest thing anyone had said to me all night. Outside, through the windows, I could see Cody raising a plastic cup while people gathered around him. My father was smiling again. My mother was still standing by the cake. I sat in my truck with both hands on the steering wheel. Then I opened my laptop. The folder was right where I had left it. Whitaker Hardware Agreements. Lease guarantee, payroll reserve, vendor credit backup, emergency loan modification, repair invoices, accountant emails, payment histories. Every document had a date, every date had a story, every story had my name somewhere on it. Then I called Marion Ellis, the accountant who had helped me keep the business alive for years without letting my father's pride collapse in public. "What happens," I asked, "if I stop being their safety net?" There was a long pause. Then she said gently, "Are you finally ready to do that?" I looked once more at the banner through the window. "Built by family." "No," I said, "I'm ready to let them prove it." That night, they kept congratulating Cody and telling themselves I was too sensitive, too cold, too military, too distant to understand what family meant. By Monday morning, the landlord would be asking who was backing the lease renewal. The payroll account would need a reserve Cody did not have. The main vendor would pause the next shipment until someone explained why my name was no longer attached to their credit line. And my family would learn the difference between the person who gets the applause and the person who keeps the lights on. I used to believe normal meant peaceful.
For a long time, that was how I explained my family to myself. We were not warm, we did not hug in the kitchen or say hard things out loud, but we had routines, Sunday phone calls, birthdays on calendars, a family business with our name painted above the door.
My life by then was simple. I lived in a small townhouse outside Raleigh with a kitchen table that usually had a laptop open on it. After leaving active duty, I worked as an operations coordinator for a regional freight company. Routes, schedules, vendor deadlines, late shipments, missing invoices. People heard Army logistics and imagined supply trucks and clipboards. They did not understand that logistics was mostly about preventing small mistakes from becoming disasters. You learned to keep receipts, track timelines, and prepare for the thing people insisted would never happen. That habit followed me home. Every bill I paid had a folder. Every agreement had a scanned copy. Some people called that excessive. I called it sleeping at night. On the Thursday before the anniversary party, my mother called while I was reviewing delivery delays at work. My mother rarely called without a reason. "Hi, Mom," I said. "Nora, honey," she said, too bright. "Are you still coming this weekend?" I said I was. "I know. I just wanted to check. The town hall is doing that veterans recognition before the store party. It would be nice if you came to that first." I was planning to. Another pause. "And maybe you could wear your uniform?" I leaned back in my chair. I had not worn it for anything personal in a long time. To me, the uniform was not a costume for family photos. It was years of missed holidays, long flights, and doing the job even when nobody thanked you for it. "Mom," I said carefully. "I know," she said quickly. "I know you don't like making a fuss. I just thought your father might—" She stopped before finishing. "Might be proud." That was the sentence she could not quite say. The sad thing is, I wanted to believe her. Even at 39 years old, some part of me still wanted to walk into a room and see my father look at me like I had become someone worth claiming. So I said, "Fine, I'll wear it." "Oh, that'll be nice," she said, "really nice." Then she added, "Your father's been stressed. The store renewal is coming up, and Cody's been working so hard." There it was. A small red flag tucked inside a family update. "What renewal?" I asked, even though I already knew. "The lease thing, I think. Your father doesn't talk details with me. You know how he is." I did know how he was. "Did Cody send the updated numbers to Marianne?" I asked. My mother went quiet. "Nora," she said, softer now, "this weekend is supposed to be about celebrating. Maybe don't start with business questions." I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because that was how my family survived. They called facts tension. They called silence peace. They called my questions attitude and Cody's mistakes stress. I'm not starting anything, I said. I know, I just don't want your father upset. That was the shape of our family in one sentence. My father's pride was always the fragile thing in the room. Everyone moved around it carefully. My mother softened it. Cody benefited from it. I paid for it. But back then, I still told myself that was normal. Whitaker Hardware had been part of my life before I understood what a business was. I loved the smell of sawdust and cardboard. I loved the bell above the front door. But I also learned early that love did not mean belonging. Cody was 2 years younger than me, but the store had always been spoken about as his future. When he knocked over a paint display at 12, Dad laughed and said he was learning. When I reorganized inventory so the numbers matched the ledger, Dad said I was being particular. When Cody stood behind the counter, customers said, "There's the next Mr. Whitaker." When I stood there, they asked if I was helping out for the summer. Small things, maybe. But small things have a way of stacking up until they become the walls of your life. I joined the Army at 20. Mostly I wanted to find a place where effort counted, even when nobody expected it from me. Still, I never stopped answering when home called. The first real call came 6 years before that anniversary party. I was eating microwave noodles after a 12-hour day when my father called close to midnight. He did not say, "We need help." He said, "Your mother doesn't need to know how bad it is." That was my father's version of panic. The store had cash flow problems. Cody had missed vendor payments. A lease renewal was coming up. Payroll was tight. My father described as a temporary squeeze, but the paperwork told a different story. I should have asked more questions. Instead, I did what I always did. I helped. I reviewed the invoices. I talked to Marian Ellis, the accountant. I wired money into a reserve account so employees would not miss paychecks. I agreed to back part of the vendor credit line until the store looked stable again. Later, when the lease came up, I signed a limited guarantee because the landlord wanted someone with clean credit and steady income attached to the renewal. Nobody forced me. That mattered. I made those choices because I loved my family, and because I still believed that if you saved people quietly enough, one day they would understand what it cost you. They never did. At first, my father sounded embarrassed when we talked about the store. Then embarrassed became quiet. Then quiet became normal. Eventually, the help I gave stopped feeling like help to them. It became part of the floor they stood on. Cody started telling people he had turned things around. My father let him. My mother said, "Your brother needs confidence." And I let that go too. By the time I drove back into town for the anniversary weekend, the sign above Whitaker Hardware had been repainted. The windows were clean. Fresh mums sat by the entrance. It looked like a business celebrating 30 successful years. Only I knew how many times it had almost become something else. A closed door. An empty building. Another family story nobody wanted to tell, honestly. I parked across the street and watched Cody through the front window. A vendor invoice sat on the counter beside him, stamped past due in red. When I stepped inside, he snatched it up and slid it under a catalog. "Don't start inspecting things," he said. I wasn't. "Good," he said, "because we've got it handled." Behind him, my father came out of the office and smiled when he saw Cody. Then he noticed me, noticed the uniform bag over my arm, and his expression tightened slightly. Not anger, not pride. More like inconvenience. By the time the party started, I had already decided to get through the evening quietly. That was usually my plan with my family. Stay polite. Smile when required. Do not correct every small thing, because correcting one thing meant pulling on a thread that could unravel the whole room. Whitaker Hardware looked beautiful that night. Warm lights hung across the front windows. The old counter had been polished. A sheet cake sat at the register with blue icing that read 30 years strong. Beside it, framed photos showed my grandfather, my father, and Cody. No picture of me. I noticed it immediately, then hated myself for noticing. That was how these things worked. One missing photo was small. One forgotten name was small. One joke at your expense was small. Because each thing was small, you learned to swallow it. But small things become a pattern when they all point in the same direction. My father greeted customers like he still ran everything. Cody moved beside him, shaking hands, laughing too loudly, wearing a new button-down shirt with the store logo over his heart. "You must be proud," one woman told my father. My father looked at Cody and smiled. "I am. He kept this place alive." I was standing close enough to hear it. Neither one looked at me. My mother appeared beside me with a plate of cookies and a nervous smile. "The uniform suits you," she said. I almost asked if Dad thought so too, but I knew better than to put her in the middle. My mother had spent most of her life in the middle, and somehow she always stepped out just in time for me to be the one left standing there. Across the room, my father tapped a plastic cup with a screwdriver to get everyone's attention. The crowd gathered. Employees, customers, cousins, vendors, neighbors, people who had watched me grow up behind that counter, yet somehow remembered Cody as the only child who belonged to it. My father began with my grandfather. He talked about sacrifice, hard work, and family pride. Then he turned to Cody. "This store survived because somebody was willing to stay," he said. The room applauded. I did not move. "Stay." My father loved that word because it made the story simple. Cody stayed, Nora left. Cody was loyal, Nora was distant. Cody carried the store. Simple stories are useful when nobody wants to check the records. Cody took the microphone next. He thanked the town, the customers, the employees. Then he said, "There were years people don't know about. Years when payroll was tight, vendors were nervous, and this place could have gone under." My hand tightened around my cup. "But I made the hard calls," he continued. "I kept things moving. I refused to let my family's name disappear." That was the first thread. 6 years earlier, Marion, the accountant, had sent me a message marked urgent. Payroll was short. Cody had promised money would clear by Friday, but it had not. If the employees were not paid, at least 2 would quit. I wired money that night. In the memo line, I wrote payroll reserve temporary. Temporary. At the party, people clapped for Cody's courage. The second thread came when a local contractor slapped Cody on the back and said, "Glad you got that main vendor to stick with you." Cody nodded like a man receiving credit he had earned.
3 years earlier, that vendor had frozen shipments after too many late payments. I reviewed the account, sent the financial summary, and agreed to back a limited credit extension with my own name until the store rebuilt trust.
Cody had not talked them into staying. My credit had.
Then came the third thread.
My Aunt Carol hugged me near the paint aisle and said, "Still in that military mindset, huh?"
I suppose.
She smiled kindly, but there was pity in it. Well, Cody's the one with the family life, running the store, staying close to your parents. That matters. There it was again. Staying close. As if distance erased responsibility. As if a daughter in uniform could not still be holding a family together. I wanted to tell her about the Christmas I spent alone because I had used my travel money to cover emergency furnace repairs at the store. I wanted to tell her about the weekend. Cody took his girlfriend to the beach, while I built a payment timeline so the store would not lose its insurance coverage. But I did not. Because telling the truth in my family always sounded like starting a fight.
A little later, I walked toward the back office. The door was half open. Inside, Cody was talking to my father.
"I don't want Nora poking around," he said. My father sighed. "She won't. She always asks questions. She acts like she knows better." Then my mother's soft voice said, "I just don't want Nora hurt." My father answered, "Then she should stop acting like everything is about her." I stepped back before they saw me. That was the moment something shifted. For years, I had believed my family misunderstood me by accident. I thought if I stayed patient, one day they would see the whole picture. But standing in that hallway, listening to them protect Cody from accountability, I understood something I had avoided for a long time. They did not fail to see me. They had learned that not seeing me made their lives easier. When I returned to the main floor, Cody was pointing toward the upgraded register system.
"That was one of my big calls," he said.
Another thread. I had paid for that system after the old one crashed during tax season. My mother looked at me then, just for a second. Her eyes were wet. She knew enough to know Cody was wearing a story that did not belong to him. And still she said nothing. That silence cost me more than the speech. Because Cody was Cody, my father was proud and stubborn. But my mother had always been the person I hoped would one day say, Nora was there too. She did not. Cody saw me watching him and smiled like someone who knew the room was on his side.
Hey, Nora, he called out. You're quiet. Army teach you not to celebrate?
A few people chuckled. My father did not tell him to stop. Cody lifted his cup. Come on. Don't inspect us too hard tonight. Some of us have been here doing the real work. The real work. For a second, every thread pulled tight at once.
The payroll night, the vendor call, the furnace repair, the lease guarantee, the insurance timeline, the missing photo, the speeches, my mother's silence, my father's pride, Cody's grin.
It was not one joke. It was not one party. It was not even one lie. It was a structure they had built carefully, year after year, with me underneath it and Cody standing on top. I set my cup down. I need some air, I said. Nobody tried to stop me. That part told me almost as much as everything else. I drove back to the motel with the party still glowing in my rearview mirror. For several minutes, I did not turn on the radio. I did not call anyone. I just watched the road ahead, breathing the way I had learned to breathe when the room around me was too loud. In the Army, panic was expensive. Anger was expensive too. It made people move fast when they needed to move correctly. So I did not move fast. I parked outside my room, carried my uniform jacket inside, and hung it over the back of a chair. The motel was plain and quiet. A humming air conditioner, a thin comforter, a lamp that made everything look tired. I sat at the small desk and opened my laptop. The folder was exactly where I knew it would be. Whitaker Hardware Agreements. For a long moment, I just stared at the name. I had created that folder years earlier with the kind of calm that feels responsible at the time. Back then, I told myself I was protecting my parents, protecting employees, protecting a family name that had meant something before pride and excuses hollowed it out. Now the folder looked less like protection and more like evidence. I opened the first file.
Lease guarantee, limited personal backing.
My name was on page 4. My signature sat under my father's, clean and impossible to misunderstand. I remembered signing it from a base housing office after a 14-hour day. My father had said the landlord was just being difficult. Marion had said the landlord was being cautious because Cody's numbers were inconsistent.
I opened the second file. Payroll reserve agreement. The first deposit had come from my savings, the second from money I had planned to use for a trip home. The third had been smaller, but it came during a month when I had eaten sandwiches for dinner, so nobody at the store would miss a paycheck. I opened the vendor file next. There were emails from the main supplier explaining that future shipments would require a stronger credit position. There was my reply, careful and professional. There was the note from Marion thanking me for stabilizing the account before Frank finds out how close this came. I leaned back and pressed my palms against my eyes. Not because I was surprised, because I was finally letting myself see the whole shape of it. The store had not survived on Cody's courage. It had survived on silence, paperwork, and my willingness to absorb risk so my father could keep calling himself independent. I could have sent every document to the family group chat that night. I could have embarrassed Cody in front of everyone. I could have walked back into that store and read the truth out loud. For about 10 seconds, I imagined it. Then I let the thought pass. That would have been revenge. It might have felt good for a minute, but it would have made me just another person using humiliation because I had been humiliated. I did not want that. I wanted the truth to stand on its own. So I called Marion Ellis. She answered on the fourth ring. Nora? Did I wake you? No, I had a feeling you might call after tonight. That told me more than she probably meant it to. What happens if I stop backing them? I asked. Marion was quiet, not shocked, just careful. Nothing explodes overnight, she said, but they would have to stand on their own financials. The landlord would review the lease without your guarantee. The payroll reserve would need a replacement source. The vendor account would likely move to stricter terms.
Thus the store closes.
Not necessarily, but it changes. Smaller inventory, tighter payroll, no pretending the cash flow is healthier than it is. That word hit me. Pretending. My family had turned pretending into a business model. I don't want employees hurt, I said. I don't want to destroy the store.
I know that too. I just don't want my name holding up a story where I don't exist.
Marian exhaled softly. Then you need boundaries in writing, not anger, not threats, notices. That was why I trusted her. Marian never dramatized what could be documented.
She walked me through the timeline. The lease renewal window was still open. My guarantee did not automatically continue unless I signed the new paperwork. The payroll reserve could be closed with notice. The vendor backup agreement could be withdrawn according to the terms I had insisted on years earlier.
After we hung up, I called Daniel Price, the contract attorney who had reviewed the original documents.
He did not sound surprised either.
Before you decide anything, he said, tell me what outcome you want. That stopped me.
Because anger had an easy answer. Take my name off everything. Let them deal with it.
But the truth was more complicated.
I want out, I said slowly, but I want it clean, legal, professional. I don't want staff showing up Monday and losing wages because my father couldn't admit reality. Then we do this in steps.
Daniel outlined them calmly.
First, a written notice that I would not renew any personal lease guarantee. Second, withdrawal from future vendor credit support. Third, a 60-day transition on the payroll reserve. Fourth, a request for Cody and Frank to meet with Marian and provide updated financials. Fifth, if I wanted, a repayment schedule for the money I had advanced.
Do I have to demand repayment? I asked. No, but you should at least acknowledge the debt on paper. Otherwise, they will keep treating it like a gift.
A gift. That was what my family had done to every sacrifice I made. If it helped them, it became a gift. If I ever mentioned it, it became selfish. I looked at my uniform jacket hanging over the chair. Cody had mocked it because he thought it made me distant. My father resented it because it proved I had built a life outside his approval. But that life had been the reason I could save them again and again.
Daniel's voice softened. Nora, are you sure you're ready? Once they receive these notices, they'll stop seeing this as family tension. They'll see it as money.
They already see me as money, I said. Once I heard those words, I knew they were true. By midnight, I had sent Daniel and Marian permission to prepare the notices. No public accusations, no angry messages, no dramatic announcement. Just records, dates, terms, and boundaries. Before I shut the laptop, I opened one final document. It was an email I had written to Marian after the first payroll crisis. Please make sure the employees are paid on time. They should not suffer because of family pride. I read that sentence twice. Then I closed the laptop. For years, I had protected the store from my father's pride. Now, I was going to protect myself from it.
Monday morning would not bring justice. Not yet. It would bring questions and anger.
But for the first time in years, the questions would not be mine to answer alone. Monday morning did not arrive with sirens, lawsuits, or collapse. It arrived with emails.
The notices were not emotional. They did not accuse. They did not threaten. They simply stated what had always been true and what would no longer continue. I would not renew my personal guarantee on the lease. The payroll reserve I had funded would remain available for 60 days, then close. The vendor credit support attached to my name would be withdrawn according to the terms of the agreement. Future obligations would belong to Whitaker Hardware, Frank Whitaker, and Cody Whitaker.
Not me.
My father called first. I was at work when my phone lit up. Dad. I stared at his name for 3 rings before stepping outside.
What did you do? He snapped. No hello, no question about the party, just accusation. I didn't do anything to the store, I said. I removed myself from agreements I no longer want to carry. That's the same thing. No, it only feels the same because you built your plan around me staying silent. He went quiet for a second, then the anger came back.
You're punishing this family over a few words.
A few words. That was how people minimized the final straw. They ignored the weight placed before it and acted shocked when something finally broke. It wasn't a few words, I said. It was years of letting Cody take credit while I took risk.
You should have said something.
I did. You called it attitude. He breathed hard into the phone. This is still our store. Then run it like it is. I hung up before he could turn my boundary into a debate. By noon, Cody had called 7 times. I did not answer until Marion texted me that he had received the vendor email and was panicking. When I finally picked up, he did not even try to sound calm. The supplier paused our shipment, he said. They want updated financials. Then send them. I don't have everything they're asking for. Then ask Marion. You know what I mean, Nora. I did know. He wanted me to fix it quietly the way I always had so he could keep looking capable in public. Instead, I said, you told everyone you made the hard calls. This is one of them. He cursed under his breath. You're enjoying this. No, I said, I'm not. That's what you still don't understand. The first week was messy, but not catastrophic. The store stayed open. Employees were paid. No one was thrown into the street. But the comfort around my family began to shrink.
The landlord requested updated business numbers before discussing renewal terms. The main vendor reduced their credit limit until Cody could show consistent payments. Marion required weekly cash flow reviews. A few slow-moving inventory orders were canceled. My father called it humiliation. Marion called it reality.
For years, reality had been softened before it reached them. Now it arrived directly. Relatives began calling by Wednesday. Aunt Carol told me my father was under stress. A cousin said everybody deserves grace. One uncle reminded me that family businesses survive because people sacrifice. I asked him which people. He had no answer. My mother waited 5 days before calling. Nora, she said, her voice smaller than usual. Can we meet? We met at a diner on the edge of town. My mother arrived early, sitting in a booth with both hands wrapped around a coffee mug she had not touched. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then she said, I knew some of it. I looked at her. Not all, she added quickly. Not the vendor account, not the full payroll reserve, but enough. There it was, the confession I had needed and dreaded. Why didn't you say anything? I asked. Her eyes filled with tears, but she did not reach for my hand. Maybe she knew she had not earned that yet. Because your father's pride was easier to live with than your pain. The sentence sat between us. I had spent years believing my mother's silence was weakness. Maybe it was. But it was also a choice that kept the house calm, the store proud, Cody confident, and me invisible. I kept the peace, she whispered. No, I said. You kept the room quiet. That isn't the same thing. She closed her eyes. For the first time, she did not defend herself.
Over the next few weeks, the store changed in ways people could see. Cody started opening earlier. The old delivery truck was sold. The back storage area was partially leased to a local repairman. Cody stopped using the business account like a personal cushion because Marion was watching every line.
He hated it at first. Then slowly, something shifted. One night, he texted me a picture of a spreadsheet on the office desk. I didn't know half of this existed, he wrote. I stared at the message for a long time.
Then I typed, now you do.
That was all, not forgiveness, not approval, just a door left unlocked, not open. My father was the last to change, if change was even the right word. For weeks, he peopled I had turned my back on the family. But the story did not travel as easily once the paperwork existed. Facts have a weight, gossip does not.
The first repayment check arrived 6 weeks after the party.
It was not large. It would not fix the years. It came in a plain envelope from Whitaker Hardware. Cody had signed the business line, but beneath the check was a note in my father's handwriting. I should have said thank you before I needed you. I sat at my kitchen table and read it twice. I waited to feel victory. Instead, I felt grief. Because I realized I had wanted those words since I was a girl counting inventory in the back of that store, hoping someone would notice I was good at more than helping. A month later, I stopped by Whitaker Hardware on a quiet morning. No banner, no crowd, no speeches. Cody was behind the counter, tired and focused, entering invoices himself. My father stood near the office door. He did not apologize again. But when a customer asked about the store's 30 years, my father looked at me before answering. Had more help than I admitted, he said. It was small, it was late, but it was true. The store survived, smaller and more honest. My family survived too. They had mistaken dependence for necessity, and my silence for love. As for me, I learned that being useful is not the same as being valued. For years, I thought if I carried enough, paid enough, fixed it enough, one day my family would finally see me. But people do not always see what keeps them comfortable. Sometimes they only notice the foundation when it stops holding their weight.
I did not destroy my family's business. I simply stopped disappearing so it could stand.
And maybe that is the question we all face eventually. How much of yourself are you willing to erase just to keep being called loyal?